So the kids are now in the halls, and all of the members of the House legislature have to walk past literal children that they're terrified of. They're scared of the kids, and the kids are scared to be at school. And I get to watch these guys with state troopers on either end, with their hand on the state trooper's shoulder. Oh, don't let the 12-year-old girls poke me, as they're screaming, don't let us die in school. So I get to watch this. And it reminds me too, by the way, go watch a tape of a Tennessee legislator walking through throngs of kids who are yelling at them with passion, and don't picture a woman trying to go to a Planned Parenthood. It's like the same fucking thing. But anyway, these legislators who are like real upset because they really want to just keep saving these kids from drag queens, they get all pissed off about this. Do they pass gun control legislation? No. Are they going to deal anything with the problem? We might add more cops to school so we can arrest kids for running or some shit. What's their answer? They're going to ban the 3 fucking representatives that stood up, that stood with the kids. They're banning them. That's their answer. They have a supermajority, and the only thing they're going to do is silence people.
I think it speaks to the fact that despite no matter what happens with Donald Trump, Trumpism is still alive. And we've seen it recently. There was just a vote in the Tennessee state legislature to expel 3 Democratic representatives in their legislature because they had the audacity to stand up and protest for gun safety legislation because the state of Tennessee was not acting enough. And so instead of having vigorous debate, the folks who accuse people of silencing are the ones who are silencing and expelling.
1 week after a school shooting in Tennessee, the Tennessee legislature just voted to expel these 2 men from their democratically elected seats for standing with gun control advocates at a protest. These are the Tennessee 3, and you should know their names because they're going to be damn important figures in history. This is Justin Pearson, this is Justin Jones, and this is Gloria Johnson. Now, noticeably, at the beginning of this video, I said these 2 men were expelled. They were. Gloria Johnson was not. Racism is alive and well at the Tennessee Capitol. These men were expelled for speaking up for those who will never be able to speak again because they were the victims of preventable gun violence. Children who were massacred in schools. Mothers and grandmothers who were massacred in grocery stores. And the Tennessee Republican leadership has just sent a very clear message. They care more about maintaining the status quo and about telling black men how they can or can't behave in their democratically elected seats than they do about keeping children alive. And my heart is very much in this fight as an activist. But as a political strategist, I want to tell all of the House GOP leadership in Tennessee that you just fucked yourself over. Because now what you've done is you've given America 3 new heroes. Tennessee has some of the lowest youth voter turnout rates. And now you have mobilized tens of thousands of young people in your state, especially in Nashville, where you have a mayoral election later this year. So while you win this game of checkers, where you seek to silence those who you don't want to hear from, you're gonna fuck around and find out when we beat your ass at this game of chess. Good luck, cause you're damn sure gonna need it.
So I'm all caught up on what happened in Tennessee. I have just been watching as this has unfolded. Mainstream media just now decided to join in the crew when TikTok has been giving all of the updates this entire time. And I just have to say, Black people, are you watching what's happening? People of color, are you watching what is happening? The GOP House of Representatives in Tennessee just decided to expel members of Congress because they exercised their First Amendment right. And not only did they decide to expel them, the 3 that were up for expulsion were 2 black men and 1 white woman, and they decided to keep the white woman and expel the 2 black men. Because how dare you protest using your First Amendment right when it comes to the safety of children? What's sad is there are still people talking about withholding your vote. When we have state representatives like Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott who are watching what is happening in Tennessee, knowing good and well they are more than likely going to try to pull a stunt just like this in the state of Texas and Florida. Because the GOP has been historically pushing the envelope of racism for quite some time, and they have played the long game. And today they've overstepped. The white hoods have been completely removed. The white sheets have been removed. They have gone full-blown Klan. And some of y'all are still playing about not voting. When these people are willing to take away your right to protest or punish you for exercising your rights because you do not have the complexion for protection. 2024 will be here before you know it. Have your plan, get registered, get your ride, call off from work, do whatever it is that you got to do. Because they will not stop at Tennessee. They will not stop at Texas, and they will not stop at Florida. The GOP is playing the long game of racism.
Well, all of American media has been distracted by the Trump arraignment circus, and while plenty of clowns did make it to Manhattan for that, it seems they were outnumbered and run out of town in hilarious fashion by the natives. New Yorkers were just like, hey, why don't you go back to your trailer? Your cousin's getting lonely. I loved it, right? Loved it. But while that was happening, another terrible story kind of flew under the radar, and for that story, we have to turn to where else? My home state of Tennessee, which continues its climb up the crazy-ass state rankings. Yeah, are Texas and Florida looking over their shoulder? Only time will tell. Either way, I hate it. So here's what happened. As you probably know, early last week, there was a horrific school shooting in Nashville. 6 people died, 3 9-year-olds. Awful. In the wake of that, a bunch of intrepid and fed-up young Tennesseans, school kids, teenagers mostly, took to the streets in peaceful protest to demand that something be done to protect their lives. My heart goes out to these kids, man. I went to school in Tennessee 20 years ago. I never worried about getting shot at school, which is wild because I went to school in rural Tennessee where the only thing most of the boys talked about every day was all the things they had shot that weekend, right? But it's gotten completely out of control in this country, and these kids know it, and they're done with it, right? And I've been down on my home state for a while now, but watching these kids in action, man, it reminds me of you know what I'm talking about? It was huge in the late 2000s. It was that Hope, right? Remember that? Yeah, watching these kids in action reminds me of what it's like to feel hope for the first time in a long time. So what's the bad part then? Well, during their protests, 3 Democrat state representatives, Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, joined in the protest from the House floor. As a result, the Republican supermajority is planning to expel them from office for violating the rules of decorum. Ain't it wild how our hardcore gun nuts are the most easily triggered people in this country? Because that's what this is. It's another classic example of overly sensitive, thin-skinned, conservative snowflakes getting offended by people who disagree with them and then trying to cancel those people. Right? They do it all the time. I don't know if they hate freedom of speech, freedom of expression, or what, but you see it all the time. I mean, right now they're busy also trying to cancel Bud Light for being queer or something. Like, Kid Rock's involved. I don't know. It's also stupid. I want to die. But anyway, the point is, this is fascism in action, y'all. These fairly elected representatives are about to be silenced and their constituents disenfranchised because they stood with the people in opposition to the ruling party's cowardice and inaction, or put more simply, because they hurt Republican fee-fees. Okay? It's despicable, it's un-American, and if we don't watch it, I promise you, it's also just the beginning, okay? They're done with pretense, y'all. They're literally trying to phase us out of existence, all right? And I, for one, say the least we can do is to act like Stormy Daniels and make it hard on them, all right? Love y'all.
I know you probably see a lot of politicians talking about the threats to democracy. So let me tell you about what's going on. On March 30th, after the latest school shooting in Tennessee, 3 state representatives, Justin Jones, Gloria Johnson, and Justin Pearson, led a peaceful protest on the floor of the state house. Fast forward to today, 2 of those 3 members have now been removed from elected office. I want you to think about where we are. This goes back to mindset. After 6 people were slaughtered in a school, the conversation in the state house was not about how to keep weapons of war out of the hands of evil actors, was not about ways to provide relief for the thousands of kids who get on a school bus in the morning and ask themselves if today is the day, was not about ways to provide those calling out for help access to mental health care. It was instead about exercising control over 3 members who dared to say enough is enough. You need to know about this because this is a trend. In Florida, a district attorney was removed from office because he dared to speak out against the governor's position on abortion. In Texas, school board members are being removed because of a governor's quest for book bans and private school vouchers. Now in Tennessee, state representatives are being removed simply because they spoke up. I'm not too young to remember when removing someone from elected office was seen as a tear in the fabric of democracy. To remove someone from office, the actions of the individual had to be something that was grotesque. Let's go back to Tennessee. The actions of two previous members that were expelled from the Tennessee House included someone who was accused of crimes against 22 different women and someone who was removed for asking for a bribe to vote against a piece of legislation. Today, the alleged crime that Justin Pearson and Justin Jones were convicted of was advocating for a safer America. If we allow for the tears in the fabric of democracy to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger without a mass exodus and voting effort to remove the malignant desires of politicians who seek to remove opponents at will, we will lose the very thing that this country was founded upon: a government elected by the people and for the people.
Tennessee Republicans held a vote to expel 3 Democratic lawmakers from the Tennessee State House today. Only one survived. Guess which one? First, why were those Democratic lawmakers up for expulsion? Well, the reason is because after that mass shooting happened at Covenant School in Tennessee, these 3 lawmakers decided to protest in order to raise awareness to do something about the gun violence that's happening in Tennessee. So the 3 lawmakers that attended those peaceful protests are Justin Jones, Gloria Johnson, and Justin Pearson. I'm not one for hyperbole, but this is definitely a political lynching. How can it be that 3 people are charged for the same thing, but it's the 2 black lawmakers that get expelled from the House and the 1 white lawmaker is safe when they're all charged for the same thing? So whether it's on a state level or a federal level, Republican lawmakers anywhere just don't want to do anything that addresses gun violence. But how did Republicans in Tennessee gain so much power where they could just expel Democratic lawmakers? Well, let's go back to the Supreme Court. In 2019, the Supreme Court ruled that partisan gerrymandering was out of the reach of the federal court, meaning that even if they thought that there was something that needed to be addressed, they were going to leave it at the state level. And this was a 5-4 ruling along conservative and liberal ideological lines. So when I say that there was a 5-4 split in that decision, this is what I mean. The 4 in the minority are in the top row. The 5 in the majority are in the bottom row. The top row, they were all nominated by Democratic presidents. The bottom row, they were all nominated by Republican presidents. And the reason I say this ties back to the 2016 election is because Donald Trump nominated Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch, and he was able to fill those Supreme Court vacancies. So I bring up the 2016 election not so we can dwell on the results of that election, but instead for it to serve as a reminder that that election had very real consequences. And if Hillary Clinton had been able to nominate 2 justices, we wouldn't be in this position today with Tennessee. So let that election and let the consequences of that election serve as a reminder and as motivation for 2024. So that way when 2024 comes, we are all on board to re-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. If you like my little TikToks, hit like, hit follow. Thank you.